The Three Vectors, Outward Power Projection and the Hegemonic Trap by Ward Ethan Mercer, August 7th, 2026. The strategic architecture of modern Iran cannot be understood as a purely defensive enterprise. While the Khuzestan-Hormuz matrix acts as the state's existential shield, and the IRGC dual power structure provides its internal engine, Tehran's operational doctrine relies on a relentless multi-axis outward expansion, strategic depth. By methodically projecting military, paramilitary, and economic force along three distinct geographical axes, west, north, and south, Iran has created a regional footprint that overwhelms neighboring states. This outward push has created a dangerous structural condition. No local regional government possesses the strategic depth, asymmetric weapons counter, or political cohesion to break Iran's proxy network on its own. Consequently, the expansion of Iran's three vectors creates an inevitable superpower trap, where external high-velocity intervention becomes the only force capable of altering the regional balance. The westward vector, the Mediterranean land bridge. The most developed axis of Iranian expansion runs westward along the Fertile Crescent, establishing a continuous land corridor from Tehran to the Mediterranean Sea. Operational mechanics. Iraq is the logistics hub. Through the popular mobilization forces and political integration in Baghdad, Iran converted Iraq from the historic Western Wall into a forward staging ground and supply corridor. Syria as the geographical bridge. By preserving the Assad regime, Tehran secured land transit routes connecting Iraqi supply hubs to the Levant, allowing the transfer of precision-guided munitions and heavy weaponry without relying on air or sea transport. Lebanon as the Mediterranean anvil. Through Hezbollah, Iran transformed southern Lebanon into a hardened missile bastion, equipped with subterranean launch complexes and stockpiles of loitering munitions aimed directly at Israel's industrial core. The primary assets deployed along this axis consist of sub-state proxies, including the Iraqi PMF, Syrian local defense units, and Hezbollah, armed with Fateh 110 ballistic missile derivatives and Ababil Shahed loitering munitions. This westward corridor functions as a threat multiplier. By embedding launch sites inside foreign civilian sovereign territory, Iran forces its adversaries to fight protracted asymmetric urban battles abroad rather than striking the command nodes in Tehran. The northward vector, Eurasian depth and Caspian sanctuary. While Western commentary focuses primarily on the Middle East, Iran's northward axis across the Caucasus and the Caspian Rim provides the regime with economic sanction evasion pathways and strategic backing from rival great powers. Operational mechanics, Caspian Sea sanctuary. The Caspian Sea operates as an internal Eurasian lake completely shielded from Western naval interdiction. Iran utilizes Caspian shipping channels to move drone technology, ballistic hardware, and oil exports directly into Russian industrial ports. South Caucasus leverage. By inserting itself into the Armenia-Azerbaijan conflict dynamics, Tehran prevents Western-aligned energy corridors such as Baku-Tbilisi-Ceyhan from completely bypassing Iranian influence. Great power synergy. In exchange for providing loitering munitions and missile components to Russia, Tehran receives advanced air defense architectures, electronic warfare suites, and cyber capabilities, hardening its domestic infrastructure against localized regional strikes. The northward vector guarantees that Iran cannot be isolated by maritime blockades in the south alone. It anchors Tehran into a broader Eurasian strategic bloc. The southward vector, the Red Sea choke point extension. The third outward push extends southward into the Arabian Peninsula and the Horn of Africa, anchored by Ansar Allah, the Houthi movement in Yemen. Operational mechanics, dual choke point leverage. By arming the Houthis with long-range anti-ship ballistic missiles and cruise missiles, Iran gained functional interdiction capability over two of the world's most critical maritime transit points, the Strait of Hormuz in the east and the Bab el-Mandeb in the west. Red Sea disruption. The deployment of low-cost drone kits and coastal anti-ship missiles allows Yemen-based forces to disrupt commercial shipping heading toward the Suez Canal, driving up global logistics costs and forcing European-Asian maritime trade to reroute around Africa. Saudi Arabia encirclement. The Houthi axis places Iran's threat architecture directly on Saudi Arabia's southern border, pinning down Gulf state defense forces and holding regional oil infrastructure at constant risk. Through this southern axis, armed with anti-ship ballistic missiles, drone swarms, and explosive uncrewed surface vessels, Iran constructed a dual choke point squeeze spanning both sides of the Arabian Peninsula. Why regional governments are helpless. As Iran pushed outward along these three vectors, it magnified its operational reach to a scale that regional neighbors cannot counter. The cost asymmetry trap. Gulf states and regional partners rely on high-cost, Western-supplied air defense interceptors, such as Patriot and THAAD, to protect cities and desalination plants. Iran and its proxies strike back using mass-produced, low-cost drone kits, 3D-printed components, and ballistic missiles. In a prolonged war of attrition, regional air defenses face economic and inventory exhaustion. Lack of geographic depth. Small Gulf nations lack geographical buffer zones. A single swarm strike on a power grid, refinery, or water desalination plant imposes catastrophic domestic costs. Iran, by contrast, operates across a vast mountainous landmass with decentralized underground missile networks and proxy layers thousands of kilometers away from Tehran. Subversion of sovereign boundaries. Conventional militaries are designed to fight state armies. Iran's proxy architecture operates inside failed or weakened sovereign states, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Yemen. Striking these proxies requires military campaigns on foreign soil that local regional powers cannot sustain politically or diplomatically without triggering broader regional instability. The hegemonic trap. Why superpower intervention is mandatory. When regional states cannot check an expanding threat, a geopolitical vacuum opens. Because local conditions cannot dismantle the missile, drone, and naval networks guarding Iran's three vectors, the responsibility falls squarely on the external guarantor of global order, the United States. Failure of local balance of power. No combination of Gulf states or Levant partners can execute the multi-domain suppression campaign required to neutralize Iran's integrated air defense networks, subterranean missile cities, and coastal strike systems. Global trade threat. The disruptions of the Strait of Hormuz and Bab el-Mandeb threatens the core interests of international markets, energy security, and global supply chains. The velocity of conflict. Once the regional containment shield fails, the choice facing the superpower simplifies to two options. Accept an Iranian-dominated Middle East controlling major energy choke points, or launch a direct high-velocity military campaign to dismantle Iran's expeditionary power projection. Iran's three outward vectors were designed to build an impenetrable shield of strategic depth. But by magnifying its footprint so far beyond its borders, Tehran created a situation where its neighbors are powerless to negotiate a regional equilibrium. The three vectors do not lead to regional hegemony through diplomacy. They make a direct, large-scale confrontation between Iran and an external superpower an inescapable structural outcome. Eyes open.